Hello everyone. Thanks for watching us. Today we want to talk about daylighting. I am here with Emma, Jim, and Dr. Bolton, who are all specialists in this area. Alright. Let's start with Emma. Tell us what daylighting is.
Sure. Daylighting is the controlled admission of natural light into buildings to reduce electric lighting and saving energy.
Jim, what do you think?
We need to know that using daylight in your building is a key strategy for passive design. Letting sun into your building impacts visual comfort as well as thermal comfort. Understanding how light from the sun enters a building as well as how to use the light once it is in a building are important considerations for successful daylighting.
Not to forget that the science of daylighting design is not just how to provide enough daylight to an occupied space, but how to do so without any undesirable side effects. Beyond adding windows or skylights to a space, it involves carefully balancing heat gain and loss, glare control, and variations in daylight availability.
So could you please give us an example to understand more clearly?
Sure. For example, successful daylighting designs will carefully consider the use of shading devices to reduce glare and excess contrast in the workspace. Additionally, window size and spacing, glass selection, the reflectance of interior finishes, and the location of any interior partitions must all be evaluated.
Interesting. Jim, do you have anything else to add?
Like most things, daylighting has advantages and disadvantages. But by becoming skilled at understanding the technical components of daylighting, you can make sure to maximize the advantages and minimize disadvantages.
Is there a difference between sunlight and daylight?
Sunlight is considered as the light that enters a space directly from the sun. This type of light is generally not good for lighting an interior space. Direct sunlight can produce glaring excessive heat gain.
Daylight describes the desirable natural light in a space. Daylight results in a perceived even distribution of light, avoiding the glare and ill effects of direct sunlight.
Simply put, daylight is diffused natural light from the sky. But sunlight is direct light from the sun itself. For daylighting design, you don't want sunlight. It creates light that is too intense and can bring unwanted heat.
Dr. Bolton, you have been quiet. Tell us what you think.
The larger part of most people's lives are lived in buildings. In fact, we spend up to 90% of our time inside buildings living, working, learning and playing, but 30% of the building stock does not contribute to providing a healthy indoor climate. This is an increasing challenge for our health and well-being. Light radiation is absorbed directly through the skin. Ultraviolet radiation in daylight is key for vitamin D metabolism.
Interesting. So how could we make sure that building's occupants will receive enough daylight?
An effective daylighting strategy illuminates the building space without subjecting occupants to glare or major variations in light levels which can impact comfort and productivity.
Opportunities vary depending on whether a building is new or existing and can include proper placement and use of interior walls, windows, overhangs, window coverings, and furnishings.
As windows provide both daylight and views, the upper portion of windows can be used to bring in high levels of daylight with fewer glare issues, while reserving the lower portion of windows for views. With proper shading, we could place exterior overhangs just above eye height, something around 7.5 feet, on windows on the south and west sides of the building to maximize daylight and reduce glare.
We need to consider adjacent buildings when placing windows. If there are glass buildings nearby, determine the amount of reflective glare and its direction into the building.
Passive strategies, such as mechanical shades or blinds, that do not close completely, may achieve daylighting goals, but should provide options to override default conditions.
Also, occupant engagement requires steady effort and feedback but can yield major rewards as occupants are educated and reminded to open and close blinds and shades as needed.
How about the health side of daylighting?
We may not have access to adequate amounts of sunlight, because our mobility is limited through age or illness, or because of the built environment in which we live and work. These conditions limit exposure to sunlight and cause a deficiency in vitamin D. On another hand, the relationship between vitamin D and bone frailty, especially hip fractures, among older people has been demonstrated in numerous studies. Elderly people suffer more from vitamin D deficiency than younger populations, as the ability of our skin to produce vitamin D is significantly reduced as we age. In addition, insufficient vitamin D is believed to have several harmful effects on our cardiovascular systems. Nevertheless, excessive sunlight also might be harmful. So I believe the role of architects in building design is so important. Architects are the ones who make sure that people will receive sufficient daylight. This matter is directly related to our health and well-being.
Alright. Thank you all once again for being here and sharing your expertise and your points of view. I believe that concludes our today's session. Thanks for watching us.